Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another True Crime Time with Junebug. That's me. I decided not to put as much effort into my appearance because the last video I did, granted it was a badass dude video, not a true crime, it has like 3 views and I'm always one of them to make sure like everything looks okay. I don't actually view the whole video, but I like the first 30 seconds to a minute. So I was like, I'm not gonna put that much time and effort if no one's gonna watch this. And 2, this was supposed to be like a new like mini true crime series, like a start of a mini true crime series, but you know, after a couple pages I was like, okay, it's not. So this was gonna be really short, but it's not no more. And I guess the third thing is this is a very current case. It is still ongoing. I don't know if I've covered anything that's still ongoing. Okay, technically I think people are still looking into like some super old cases, but nothing that took place the past 5 years I've covered. So this is ongoing. Some of the info could end up being different than what I have, and I apologize for that. And if this like offends the family member in any way, or if like they want me to take the video down, just let me know. If you're legit like related to them, don't pretend to be a troll and pretend you're related to the Sport family, okay? But since the woman is all for advocacy and wanting to know people to know what happened, I figured it might be okay for me to cover this because it hurts my heart, and people should know how heartless this man is. But today we are talking about the asshole Stephen Michael Clare. Now this takes place April 10th of 2023, and I always say the age of the victims in case anything with children bothers you. And unfortunately, yes, children are involved. 11 months old, 2-year-old, a grown woman, like almost 30, and then I believe 2 kids like between 8 and 11. We'll say. And this takes place in San Antonio, Texas. The status of this is ongoing, as I mentioned, but you're gonna be hard pressed to find someone who doesn't think this man is guilty. Granted, I know legally he has to go through all the bells and whistles and the whole trial, but let's be realistic here. We know he did it. So let's get started with some facts. For starters, I don't really know anything about Stephen's upbringing. I don't care, because he's an asshole. People can have bad upbringings and still be nice people. I know he was 51 when this takes place, and he was actually a nurse practitioner. Isn't that great? That's just great. Now, the other main person in this story is Mariah Lee Gardner. I don't really know about her upbringing either. I saw it was in Louisiana, and it was pretty happy, like normal childhood from what I saw. But I did see she had recently finalized her divorce from her first husband. And when, like it had just finalized when she had met Stephen in a bar in October of 2017. She was trying to have fun with friends, like they're at a bar, just trying to get her mind off of, you know, probably the whole divorce situation and the joint custody. And she said due to like sharing the kids in a sense, and no longer being married, she said her life seemed kind of quiet, kind of lonely. So even though Stephen was older and a bit odd, it was said that she said he was a bit nerdy and weird, which you can say that about me. So it's not necessarily a terrible thing, but she accepted his phone number at the bar when he offered it. Now this started the roller coaster of a romance. Oh my gosh. And I do want to note, big note here, that there is about a 20-year age gap, it seems, between the two, Mariah and Stephen. But as someone who's in an age gap relationship herself, 12 years, not 20, just because there's an age gap, like him being older isn't the reason he's such an asshole. Like, he could have been her age and still be an asshole. Like, I don't see him being a certain age correlating to what he did. if that made sense. Because I know some people are like, oh, it's because he's older, those weird age gap relationships, one of them must not be stable. Well, in this instance, one of them wasn't. But it's not always the case. So, with the whirlwind of a romance, obviously not going to get into everything because I don't know everything. But it was said Stephen would just kind of ghost her, start fights, said horrible things. I don't know the specifics. Maybe somewhere out there is, but I don't know them. It said he was controlling, he was possessive, but he was also very persistent and manipulative to get what he wanted, which was to be with Mariah, essentially. So they kind of just stayed together. So years would pass. As I stated, they met in 2017. And they would have their first child together in August of 2020. And the baby's name was Rosalie. They would later marry that year in a small backyard ceremony. No, I don't know if this is legit, but in my personal opinion, I'm guessing the COVID lockdowns did not help the situation at all. I'm just guessing. Then on April 12th, based on my math, granted I saw conflicting dates, of 2022, their second child, another daughter, was born, and her name was Willow. And well, they're both adorable, both the daughters, but Willow is just so stinking cute. Now, Mariah said that he got worse during their marriage, which I've heard that can be a thing in abusive relationships. Once they get you in a more permanent way, they don't try to hide themselves as much. She said it was he had two different personalities, one who was a decent guy and one who was just a monster. He would say, Stephen would say very dark and scary things about all of them. He apparently talked about suicide many times, and he was even put in a hospital for this because Mariah was genuinely concerned he's going to off himself. He keeps talking about it, so he needs help. But even though he was taken in as a inpatient, outpatient situation, since he's a nurse practitioner, unfortunately, remember, he was released 4 hours later because he knew exactly what they wanted to hear. So that's not great. It was said they even tried marriage counseling to try to make things work, but Mariah was told by, I don't know if they saw multiple counselors or just the one, but she was told Stephen was perfectly fine and she just needed to, quote, cater to his emotions better, end quote. When I read that, knowing what happens, it pissed me off. But essentially, she was just being gaslit by professionals left and right. Hospital staff, counselors, Stephen, because he's technically in the medical field. Now, Mariah would try and get a protective order against Stephen for her and her children, but she was denied since she didn't have a police report. In which I guess I can understand in case someone's just being a petty ex, and they're they don't let me see my kids, or they're a stanky hoe, I don't want them near me. I can see people trying to manipulate it in a sense if they're just being petty. So I was okay, I can sort of see if they want a police order. But Mariah would try to get a police report, but she was denied. Because in Texas, apparently it is physical violence or bust. There needs to be physical violence before you can have a police report. None of this other stuff she was dealing with counted. In Texas, at least. But in January of 2023, she had had enough and she divorced him, which, granted, somehow, he was given split custody of the girls. Granted, all these medical professionals seem to think he's great and dandy, and there can't be a police report without violence, physical violence, then yeah, on paper, he probably seems great. With the divorce in that situation, he was pissed, to say the least. He would stalk Mariah, he would drive by her house. I saw in an article nearly 20 times a day. Apparently he had nothing better to do, and he would start making darker threats. I'm not going to include one of them here because it involved like lining up their children and like pew-pews. So that was a bit graphic. Now, since Mariah wasn't getting help from the officials, she told her friends and family that if something were to happen to her, it is him. I think she mentioned she like posted on social media too. She's like, if something happens, if I go missing, it is him. No doubt in my mind. And then there's also people that are probably gonna say like, why didn't she leave the area? Well, if she tried to flee back to her home in Louisiana to like be with some of her family, or if she just tried to flee anywhere else, like it doesn't just have to be Louisiana, she could be charged with parental kidnapping and run the risk of Stephen getting full custody of their girls. Which, that is, no one wants that. Maybe Stephen, but no one else wants that. And unfortunately, the authorities should have listened to her these past years, because on April 10th of 2023 at 7 p.m., their lives would change forever. Stephen would push his way into her house, like he was allowed in because obviously he can see his children. And at this point, she figured the best way to get through this period of her life was just not to provoke him, like kind of just walk on eggshells with him. So like he pushed his way into the house, greeted the kids, and came up to Mariah. She was busy doing something, but when she turned around, he saw he was pointing a gun at her. He then shot her 5 times at that close range. He left her in critical condition to go hunt down the children. Thankfully, that's a pretty good thing. Thankfully, Mariah's 2 sons, the older sons, escaped out of a window. They did get like glass in their skin and they were bleeding, so very uncomfortable, and they had some injuries, but they made it to a neighbor's house to get help. And when the first responders arrived, they found Mariah and baby Rosalie, who's 2 at the time, on the brink of death, and they were rushed to the ER, which, what else would you do? Sadly, baby Willow passed shortly after being stabbed to death by her own father. So, in the midst of recovery, Mariah had to learn that her baby was gone. With time, both her and Rosalie would miraculously make strong recoveries. Not full recoveries necessarily, because I don't know the extent of Rosalie's injuries. Like, I knew she was critical, but I don't know like what rehabilitation she needed, and I don't know if she has like any permanent damage. Meanwhile, Mariah, I know, had to relearn how to swallow, speak, eat all over again. Now, she seems to be better in those ways. Like, you can find interviews of her speaking and she does not look like she was shot at 5 times point blank. But she said that one side of her face is still numb and she sometimes struggles to walk. And also, there's the trauma as well. Like, having to live through this is probably a bit brutal. Now, as for Stephen, just doing Stephen things, I guess. He fled the scene, not surprised, but he went home, just washed his clothes because there's blood on him, you know. Can't have blood on your clothes. He downed a bunch of drugs and was about to go to sleep for the night when the police arrested him. So I'm glad the police got him quickly. But I don't know if with the drugs he was attempting like a suicide, or I don't know if that was just a normal night for him. Now, he is currently in jail. Do not worry, he is not free. And I think there was a couple other charges, but the main one I keep seeing mentioned in articles is that he was charged with capital murder of a child under the age of 10. And he is currently awaiting trial, because I remember I said this is ongoing. And unfortunately, the trial was pushed back to early 2026, so gotta wait a bit longer. Well, that family has to wait longer. But if he's found guilty, which I don't know how he could not be found guilty, the death penalty is on the table. Now, meanwhile, Mariah and her surviving children are trying to live as normal of a life they can live after a situation like this, all while missing baby Willow dearly. Currently, Mariah has made it her new life's mission to increase legal support for victims of domestic abuse, and not just when it's physical. She believes numerous things could have been done to prevent the death of her baby or prevent just the whole tragedy in general. And I honestly completely agree. And she doesn't want anyone else to go through this experience. And she states she wants the world to know what he did on April 10th of 2023. But in October of 2023, Mariah will go to Capitol Hill to encourage the White House to reform family court law and safeguard victims of abuse. Again, not just physical abuse, all of the abuse, which, at least in Texas, isn't as common. And on that day, she marched to Capitol Hill. She had a pendant with Willow's ashes in it. I don't know, like, how things are going with the reform or anything like that. I know things take a painfully slow time, but I hope things change. Now, she does, because she does advocacy now. She has an Instagram. I thought maybe she, like, had a public one to, like, give updates on, like, the advocacy, but it's private. She seems to do, I'm gonna put quotes around, professional advocacy. Like, I've seen her go to, again, Capitol Hill. She's been on news outlets. Like, she kind of has skipped the social media advocacy and is going a bit more old-fashioned with it. Because I tried to see if there was a page you could follow or give your support to, but it does not appear so. She did create the Willow Grace Foundation in honor of baby Willow. I didn't see, I think I found the official page for that, but again, I'm not entirely sure. There was, I'm gonna list it even though I'm not 100% sure what to do with it. There was a GoFundMe made shortly after this incident happened. It is still open and it says it's protected, but there hasn't been an update. So, I mean, I guess you can still donate to it, but I don't know if, like, they're regularly checking it or if, like, a GoFundMe, like, expires after a certain time without an interaction. So I do want to put it out there. They do have a GoFundMe. I don't know if it's, like, beneficial still. I'm sure it's beneficial, but I don't know if, like, yeah, I've just never seen a GoFundMe not expired open for years. So I did want to tell you that in case you were interested, but just proceed with caution, I guess. Because I'd hate for you to donate money and they don't get it. There'd be no point. It would literally just only GoFundMe gets the money instead of the family, and that'd be shitty. Now, I also am going to link a Newsweek article that I got a lot of information from. There are many other articles, but they tend to be more news outlets giving updates about Steven, which, screw that guy. Let's focus more on the loving family that he destroyed. So I'll link that article below if you wanted to read it. And that is it for today. I hope you find Steven a complete monster. If you don't, I am very concerned. So I don't know what I'm covering next. I don't think it's gonna be a current one. Super current cases make me a bit nervous because things are ongoing. But with this situation, I'm like, I don't think there's any way and chance you can find him not guilty. So I'll say, I think it's a safe for me to talk about. Anyway, thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye.